Power Platform licensing for SMBs in 2026, what you actually pay. Power Platform licensing for SMBs in 2026, what you actually pay. That's what we're tackling today. If you've been wondering about Power Platform licensing for SMBs 2026, stick around. Now, moving on to what the Power Platform licensing model actually looks like. Understanding Power Platform licensing for SMBs in 2026 starts with knowing that Microsoft sells Power Platform as a family of products, not a single bundle. Each product has its own plan structure, and they interact in ways that are not obvious from the pricing page. The key concept to grasp upfront is the distinction between standard connectors and premium connectors, because that line determines which licensing tier you need. Standard connectors include Office 365 apps, SharePoint, Teams, and a handful of others. Premium connectors include Salesforce, SQL Server, Azure Services, and most third-party APIs. The moment an app or flow touches a premium connector, every user who runs it needs a paid Power Apps or Power Automate license. This is where most SMBs encounter their first unexpected bill. A developer builds a Power Apps form that reads from Azure SQL, and suddenly every person who opens that form needs a paid license. Checking connector requirements before building saves significant money. Let's talk about what and hashtag 39. S included in Microsoft 365 for Power Platform. Before paying for any Power Platform add-on licenses, check what your M365 subscription already covers. Many SMBs are already on M365 Business Basic, Standard, or Premium, each of which includes limited Power Platform access at no extra cost. The 6,000 monthly flow runs per user sounds like a lot. A daily invoice approval flow running 22 working days per month uses 22 runs per user, which is fine. A more complex multi-step flow with branching logic can count as multiple runs per trigger, however. Once you hit premium connectors or need more throughput, a paid Power Automate plan is required. Auditing your M365 baseline is step 1 of any Power Platform licensing for SMB's 2026 planning exercise. You may already be covering 60 to 70% of your workflow automation needs with what you're already paying for. Let's talk about moving on to Power Apps licensing tiers, per user versus per app. A Power Apps licensing for SMBs in 2026 offers two main paid options, plus a pay-as-you-go model. The right choice depends on how many apps a user needs and how predictable your usage is. The per-user plan gives one licensed user access to unlimited Power Apps within your organization, including full premium connector access. This is the right choice when a user regularly works across more than 2 apps, or when you're planning an org-wide Power Apps rollout. At $20/user/month, 10 people cost $200 per month. That includes Dataverse access and unlimited apps per licensed user. There is no cap on the number of apps a per-user license holder can access. Let's talk about moving on to Power Automate pricing, per user versus per flow. Power Automate for SMBs is where Power Platform licensing for SMBs 2026 gets genuinely interesting, because the per flow plan sounds expensive in isolation but becomes very cost-effective when one automation serves a large user population. The per-user plan lets one user build and run unlimited flows, including premium connector flows. This is the standard choice for teams where multiple people need to create and manage their own automations independently. The per-flow plan licenses specific flows rather than specific users, at $100/flow/month. The scale math makes this plan compelling in the right scenario. A single invoice processing flow triggered by 200 employees costs $3,000 per month under per-user licensing, but only $100 per month under per-flow licensing. When one automation serves a large population, per-flow is dramatically cheaper. Now, let's talk about Dataverse storage costs, what you get and what costs extra. Every paid Power Apps or Power Automate license includes some Dataverse storage, but the defaults run thin faster than Microsoft's documentation implies. This is one of the most common hidden costs in Power Platform licensing for SMBs, included with every tenant. Additional per paid Power Apps per user license. Next up, let's talk about Power BI licensing and how it fits into Power Platform pricing. Power BI runs on its own licensing track alongside the rest of the Power Platform family. The 2026 tiers. For SMBs, the decision is usually straightforward. If fewer than 500 users need to view reports, Power BI Pro at $10 per user is the right call. Premium per capacity only makes economic sense when your viewer population is large enough that the flat monthly fee undercuts per user costs. One thing many teams miss: Power BI Pro is included in Microsoft 365 E5 plans. If your organization is on E5, purchasing separate Power BI Pro licenses is redundant. Check your M365 agreement before buying. Now, estimating Power Platform licensing cost for a 50-person SMB. Here's what Power Platform licensing for a 50-person SMB in 2026 realistically looks like for a common scenario. M365 Business Standard is the base, a subset of users on Power Apps, a couple of org-wide automated flows, and Power BI for management reporting. Scenario: 50-person professional services firm. Under $1,000 per month for real automation across a 50-person firm is a defensible number. The trap is over-provisioning. If all 50 users receive Power Apps per user licenses just in case, that's $1,000 per month on Power Apps alone before Power Automate or Power BI enters the picture. Let's talk about next up: how to reduce Power Platform licensing costs for SMBs. There are 5 specific tactics that consistently lower Power Platform licensing costs for SMBs without undermining automation capability. Teams that apply all 5 typically reduce their monthly bill by 25 to 35%. 1. Audit who actually uses premium connectors. Assign per user licenses based on actual need, then review usage after 90 days. In most organizations, 20 to 30% of licensed users never trigger a premium connector flow. Those users can revert to standard M365 access, which costs nothing extra on top of their existing subscription. Let's talk about now what Power Platform licensing for SMBs looks like in practice. The gap between Microsoft's pricing page and your actual monthly bill comes down to 3 recurring issues: premium connector surprises, Dataverse overages, and licenses attached to inactive accounts. Premium connector surprises are the most consistent issue. A developer builds a Power Apps form connecting to Azure SQL, and suddenly every user of that form needs a paid license. The fix is architectural: check connector requirements during the design phase, not after deployment. This single habit prevents the most common mid-project license shock. Dataverse overages accumulate quietly. You won't receive a warning until the monthly bill arrives. Set storage capacity alerts in the Power Platform Admin Center and review them monthly, especially during periods of active app development. Now, let's talk about conclusion. Power Platform licensing for SMBs in 2026 is manageable once you understand where the real costs come from: premium connectors, Dataverse capacity overages, and plan type mismatches between per user and per flow options. A 50-person SMB running meaningful automation across Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI can realistically stay under $1,000 per month with thoughtful plan selection. The most costly mistake is treating licensing as an afterthought. Build the licensing model before you build the apps. Know which connectors your solution requires, estimate Dataverse storage from actual data volumes, and match plan types to use cases rather than defaulting to per-user licenses for everyone. If you want a licensing model scoped to your team size and use case, get in touch. We help SMBs and financial services teams design Power Platform setups that fit their budgets and scale as their automation needs grow.